Almost ready? All right. Let's continue the second hour of the final hour with Travis. I am your guest host, the Prophet of Fiction, dealing with bad phone connection, but that's the least of our worries. Back to some American history. Funny, I've never lived there. I've lived in Canada. I've lived in Mexico. Lived in Korea. I've lived in Europe, all four sides. 1867. In that year, the U.S. state of Alaska was sold to the U.S. by Russia. Yeah, apparently because the Russians feared the British might invade Russia via the Bering Strait. Really, so they wanted to cut them off from Alaska, prevent them from marching through the Siberia, through Alaska, through Canada, into the U.S. Oh, no, the British. Yeah, they were afraid of the British. Yeah, so this is before Canada really existed, I guess. Well, if Britain was worried about that, seems a bit odd to imagine that the Russians would launch an invasion via the Bering Strait, the part of Russia furthest from Britain and furthest from the Russian capital, Moscow. Strange stories. Yeah, we just sold Alaska to you. Russia did. And then later they became enemies, the U.S. and Russia. Yes. And let's remember, more recently, in 2020, nearly every sovereign nation on Earth obeyed the WHO's instructions. Everyone's on the same page. And that is the reality. There is just one page, one empire. Klaus Schwab famously bragged that he controls hundreds of politicians around the world. Yes, they're going to some special elite school to be further brainwashed. Didn't you hear that Jeffrey Epstein blackmailed dozens, maybe hundreds of politicians from an assortment of countries for us? Yeah. It's a one-world empire. A little more. What's next? Yeah, technology being somehow sold secretly from America to other countries, somehow stolen despite enormous secrecy. And that's all on purpose, of course. These things are leaked on purpose. Not even leaked. The elites just share as much as they want with other countries on this big monopoly board. Speaking of flags, the flag of the East India Company, very strong comparison, similarity to the American flag. Again, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 13 stripes, red and white. And then instead of stars, the double cross of the Union Jack. Even the word president is suspicious. It did not originally refer to the ruler of a sovereign nation, but referred to an elected governor of a province or other group of persons. President, resident is in that word. The president of the East India Company existed before the president of any country existed. So corporations first, and now we know that all nations are also just corporations. George Washington replaced King George. It's the name game. It's the revolution revolving in circles. The same name, maybe even the same person. Who knows? The British used the title president in the title president of the Board of Control, which referred to the East India Company. So, and the word company is a military word before it became a corporate word. Business word. Oh yes, it was the Confederate flag that bears so much similarity to the flag of the East India Company. Confederate. Well, during the Mexican War, well, we've touched on that already. I am trying to skip around paragraphs in my book. Operation Paperclip and its Russian equivalent proved that the U.S., the USSR, and Germany were not really enemies. I know you'll say that allies wanted German scientists to help them become the next superpowers, but that's a little silly. Why would anyone hire their enemies? Wouldn't you be afraid that they would retain their loyalty to Germany and become spies? No, they had no such worries because they know there's just a one world empire. Elite scientists probably know that. They don't care what country they're working in. Yeah, George Soros, his NGOs have a history of fueling violent revolutions, but nations continue to open their doors to his filthy feet. Iran is still entertaining meetings with the U.S. officials. How is that possible after the damage the U.S. supposedly did in Iran, including blowing up some school? Really, do you have meetings with people who are killing your children? Polite meetings in suits at lovely tables served with whatever you want, I suppose. It's theater. Let's have a look a little bit at some other continents. Africa. It once upon a time had a nation named after Cecil Rhodes, famous English explorer and, yes? Yeah, so sometimes I'm hearing voices. What's new? Rhodesia was named after Cecil Rhodes. Now all African nations seem to have African names. I guess that keeps alive the illusion that Africa is African. Who divided Africa into countries? Who divided the Middle East into countries? Angola is a deviation of Angles, the old Masonic word for English people. Benin, another African country, seems a deviation of benign, an English word that means not harmful. Historians tell us Greeks colonized Egypt in ancient times. Why would people from a semi-desert country want to colonize a desert country? What did they see in the Nile that they wanted? I don't think it's particularly good farmland. The drainage basin around the Nile. So much of history doesn't make sense. Historians believe that modern Burundi takes its name from the pre-colonial kingdom of Burundi, or Urundi, a polity that emerged by the 16th century somehow. Somehow historians imagine that we colonized the distant Americas in the late 15th century, but didn't have time to colonize Africa first. Africa is on the doorstep of Europe, and yet we're expected to believe that Europeans colonized the Americas before Africa. This doesn't make any sense. Someone help me. Nigeria is named after the Niger River, so they say. But the Niger River was named by an Italian-speaking European named Leo Africanus. Really? A European named himself was named Leo Africanus. No other European since then has borne that name. That name implies that the word Africa is another European invention. And who believes that you got a caller? Okay, good.
Hi there. I think you've touched on many points tonight that are very interesting. The fake history that we've all been taught and learned. And where I want to kind of start at is the East India Company. And that the East India Company, through the City of London, the corporation, had what we have called a book Travis has been playing called The Great Red Dragon. And you have these Jewish bankers that consumed the East India Company and through the British government by loaning them money had access to all their naval routes throughout the world, by which they conquered each province and all their natural resources, we'll say.
Sorry, that was my fault. I knocked you off, and then I just knocked off Doug in California. So here he comes again.
That's all right. I'll
Let's
manage.
get Doug back on here. There we go. All right. Now y'all are both there together. Sorry about that. That was my fault. You're on the air, Doug. Go ahead.
Okay. So where I was
Is it Doug?
Yes. So where I was at, I believe,
Peter,
was that.
Peter didn't hear anything you were saying there, so you're going to probably try to start over, Doug. Sorry about that.
Oh, he didn't hear. Okay.
Yeah, and the connection's quite bad, so bear with me.
I've had some fond memories of Mexico. You have the East India Company that was basically controlled eventually through the City of London Corporation. And those people, that tribe, the Jews, manifested a lot of their power and resource, money power, through helping the British government to a loan of, I believe, $5 to $10 million at some point. And in gratitude of that loan, the British naval force at that time was the greatest in the world. And so because of that loan, their gift from the British government was access to all the naval routes throughout the world that they had with the protection of the British Navy. And as they journeyed into different places of the world, they conquered all the natural resources of those countries and then eventually amassed a huge, enormous wealth to finance anything they needed to do into the future. So when they came to the United States, they were able, through their money agents, to start developing and conquering the local business industry. And kind of where I'm going into the weeds a bit about what you've been talking about with history, is that all these people like Rockefeller, J.P. Morgan, everybody except Henry Ford, all these industry magnates were all money agents for the Crown Corporation. And we were led to believe through our learnings of history that these were self-made men. But in the end, when they passed away, they didn't have these enormous fortunes to leave to their families. Almost every one of them had a pittance of what they had accrued in the world's view of hundreds of millions of dollars, which says that they were really just agents, and the money went back to the city of London. So where I'm going with that is that history has been a lie because these were not self-made men. They were money agents, power agents for the city of London to use the great wealth that they had to conquer every industry that was developed within the United States and globally. And that is why they have the great wealth that they have in the world today. And history is a lie.
Yeah, I would just put in one caveat. I suspect they didn't have to conquer all these industries. I think from the beginning, these industries were mostly created by them, and they were just helping them grow. Maybe different agents were involved. History can be a little complicated. It's like now we have the agricultural industry being monopolized secretly by just a few corporations. So that's a very recent development. And arguably they didn't control. Pardon?
Cotton, oil, and meat were all the people that started those companies like John Rockefeller didn't acquire millions of dollars to potentiate their productions within a year's time. So those individuals were each financed by an outer source of income to have that multiplication of profit, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So they are money agents. And they didn't do it on their own. The only one that did it on his own was Henry Ford.
Yeah.
Through the industrialization Go ahead.
Yeah, he did have some a journal or a newspaper that regularly exposed Jewish involvement in the U.S. corporate and political world, I believe.
International Jew.
But yeah. But I'm quite sure that that's all more distraction from the fact that the people who rule the world, they can put on different masks, they can pretend to be Jewish, they can pretend to be Catholic, and that's how they operate. That's how they avoid being recognized for who they are. I believe this cult that rules the world is mostly Western European nobility, not royalty, so to speak, but nobility, and they have many masks now. You know, they ruled the world openly before the Industrial Revolution, and then after that they put on their masks, and they're still around. They just look different now.
What do you think about the Albert Pike letter he wrote to Mason?
I'm an expert with books and literature, and my research has told me that we can't trust anything that they give us to read. It's that simple. I haven't read that in its entirety, but the publishing world has been their first means of controlling what we think. You know, before the television, it was books. Before radio, and I've come to that conclusion that we can't trust any of the so-called great books that have been given to us, especially books that claim to be written by people from the inside. So I'm sure Albert Pike didn't talk about what I call the real war, danger of the food.
But he did forecast very accurately what's happening up to this point, from the First World War to the Second World War, to even now what's happening in the Third World War. And you see the contents of each message. They're very accurate, almost visionary in a way, or pre-planned.
Right? Yes, it could be evidence that he just had access to the plan. So, Albert Pike.
Did you ever hear of this book?
Yes, I have heard of that.
You ever heard of the book?
I think I've taken it. Go ahead.
No, this other book, The Great Red Dragon, by Woolfolk, written in 1890.
No,
Great Red Dragon, The Money Power. This is the... Travis has been opening up to this book, which I helped create as an audio. Very rare book that I stumbled upon. I don't even remember how.
Is that the book he's been playing during the shows?
Yes.
Right.
And it was written by a man that almost in the 1870s, who was a businessman, and saw how the East Indian agents, we'll call them, were starting to assimilate their wealth and how it was getting organized. And he was slipped by accident, because he was in these inner circles of business, the pamphlet that described their plan. Once he had discovered what they were planning, he became almost like an investigative journalist and started studying their what they were doing and accomplishing. So in 1890, he wrote this book, The Great Red Dragon, discussing and dissecting these money agents and their acts of acquiring power and wealth in the United States. So if you could find it on Internet Archive, you might be able to read it. You could also get the audio from Travis. Very good read. I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I think I might find it on Anna's Archive.
Okay.
It's another good one.
So do you not believe that you don't think there was a conflict between the Native Americans and the homesteaders?
No, I don't think. that happened at all. I think that might be a cover. Everything's a cover. Everything's a lie. It's just sometimes hard to figure out what's behind the lie. I did do a special on it. I wasn't quite ready to go into it right now.
Of course.
But I'm even suspicious that Native people have been living in the U.S. and Canada before colonization happened. I think if there were any, it would have been a very small populations.
What about all the great Indian nations that they encountered as they were working westward? Many.
Well, that's the story.
Right.
Yeah, that's the story. These are the stories they give us, right? The Trail of Tears, was that one?
Yeah.
Going west of the Mississippi.
Yeah, the Oregon Trail to the west.
Right.
Yeah, I was reading a good book called Blood and Glory about that expedition.
I haven't read them. I've only read really Howard Zinn's so-called alternative U.S. history book. But one reason to be suspicious of the native history is that those poor people, they don't seem able to live in accordance with their traditions. They all have become dependent on government handouts in the U.S. and Canada. And could that possibly be because they never had a long history of supporting themselves? That is one of the questions I explore in one of my lectures. So
that they were not true hunters of buffalo and game.
Yeah, they don't have a long history.
Resource?
Right, they don't have a long history in most of the tribes. If maybe all don't have much history in the U.S. and Canada. I have a suspicion that the native peoples of the world weren't silly enough to go into inhospitable climates where snow covers the ground and water turns to ice and food becomes scarce in the winter. I don't think our ancestors and native people would have voluntarily done that.
Only if they were warring between each other and they had to move in territories that they could feel safe and control it. And maybe not be an optimum environmental situation like North Dakota or South Dakota or Idaho when they're through the winter.
Yes, yeah, and that is one of the ideas I explore, that this native history portrays native tribes as warlike people, and I am quite tired of the war narrative. I think it's almost always deception. You can't build an empire on violence. It works on deception and controlling of food resources. Another break?
I like it.
Yeah, they're not happy with me, maybe.
Have you heard about this group meeting in August in Ireland?
Sorry, I'm hearing you as much as I am the native war dancers. Did you say something about Ireland?
We're going to break, guys. This is a Navajo chant for winter night stuff. We'll be back.
I like it.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
The truth! You can't handle the truth!
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network. Real news, real talk, real people. Because you can handle the truth.
Tired of barely covering rent or utilities? What if you could add a real second income stream, starting today? Hi, I'm John Moore, the Liberty Man. My friend Steve Ben Noon showed me LifeWave, and it changed everything for me. For just $295, grab the core membership and launch your own business. Perfect if you want to start small. Need more patches for the family or faster growth? Step up to advanced or go all in with premium for the biggest discounts on the famous X39 patches. Upgrade anytime, just pay the difference. It's that simple. I trusted Steve, I made the leap, and I've never looked back. Ready for your extra income? Visit thelibertyman.com right now, or call me personally at 314-965-3007. That's thelibertyman.com, or 314-965-3007. Don't wait. Your financial freedom starts with one click or one call.
People often write to tell us what has happened for them since starting Extendivite. Allow me to read a few. After taking Extendivite for about 6 months, I've noticed improvement on the numbness of my hands and wrists from the carpal tunnel syndrome. I will continue to buy product. This formula is very powerful. I am feeling much better. My heart rate and blood pressure is stabilized, my lower edema has reduced, and lower leg pain due to blood clots has disappeared. This product has relieved what appears to be an angina problem, pain in the chest after climbing stairs, and short on breath. I'm quite happy about it. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit extendivite.com. That's XTENDOVITE.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Hey there, are you going to wait till the cows come home to get your new ease-off drop-and lift?
What in the world is an ease-off drop-and lift?
Our ease-off is a new tool to increase production for your meat processing company that will get that whole hog or half a beef on or off your rail with our remote control.
That sounds great, but can I afford it?
Sure, and the ease-off installs fast. The effortless operation will reduce fatigue, speed up your line, and increase profits.
Okay, I'm convinced. Where can I get my ease-off?
Go to easeoff.com. That's EAZEOFF.com. And hurry because we're offering free shipping for a limited time. Easeoff.com. We make pigs fly. Cows, too.
Ease-off, LLC, 417-932-6419.
Are you really prepared? There's one critical piece most people forget. When disaster strikes, the most powerful survival tool isn't in your hands, it's in your head. But here's the hard truth. Knowledge disappears fast when the grid goes down. That's why we created the Preparedness Tablet, the first and only off-grid digital library designed specifically for survival situations. We've done the work for you. This rugged, portable tablet comes preloaded with a massive library of practical knowledge, food preservation and storage, emergency medical care, off-grid living and homesteading, security, defense, and more. It's indexed, searchable, organized, and powered by a free solar charger, so you'll never be without it. It also comes with a protective hard case, and you can upgrade it with supplemental survival files and EMP protection. Whether it's a power outage, social unrest, or a full-blown crisis, this tablet gives you instant access to skills that save lives. From treating wounds to growing food, even saving cherished family documents and photos, this Preparedness Tablet is your silent partner when things go sideways. You can't know it all, but you can carry it with you. Preloaded with survival knowledge, runs 100% off-grid, backup and store your own files, lightweight, portable, and solar-powered. Join thousands of Americans closing the last gap in emergency prep. Visit our website now and get peace of mind in the palm of your hand. The Preparedness Tablet also makes a thoughtful and potentially life-saving gift. Invest in yourself, protect your family. Visit www.comcoms.link. That's www.comcoms.link. Be ready, be smart, be the one who plans ahead. We also offer custom portable radios that come pre-configured for your local area. Included with these versatile radios is free basic training to get you up to speed quickly on how to use your radio. Visit our website today and learn all about our unique products. Comcoms.link. COMCOMS.link.
Ready to go?
Yep.
All right. Back for the last quarter of the show. This is the prophet of fiction filling in for Travis on the final hour with Travis show. I think we have a new caller.
It's Adam in
Is there a
Vancouver.
caller
Oh,
there?
Go ahead.
All
Okay.
right.
Hello,
Adam in Vancouver.
Prophet of Fiction. I
How
was
are you?
thinking about the Buffalo Bill Wild West show when you were talking about the Native American history. And
Right.
while I was waiting on the phone, I remember seeing something about how they took the whole Wild West show to the UK, and it was the first time in the UK that people had ever seen Native Americans. And just they moved a whole town there at the time it was the largest exposition ever in the world because they moved so many people for this town. And I recently read another story where they did the same thing in the U.S., bringing a whole village of Filipinos to America, and it was the first time any Filipinos had come to North America. So it just makes me wonder about, what you were saying, like what is really true, what really happened when they were moving literally towns of people around and showing them off in these huge exhibitions. What does that tell us? And
right? Maybe this has a long history. Right? And Native people were planted in Canada and the U.S.
Yeah, it's almost like a marketing campaign. I just wonder what was really how they went about doing that, and I also wonder about like the buffalo when they show so many buffalo heads and skulls. Were there really that many buffalo in North America? Like how could we be sure of the numbers of buffalo?
Yeah.
Wouldn't there be skeletons in the prairies, before the Dust Bowl? Wouldn't we be able to do some archaeological research and find the bones in the ground? There are just so many unanswered questions. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That I've been to Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump in Alberta.
Yeah, that's what they tell us, right?
Well, they've got like the interpretive center there and the $1 million interpretive center, and you can see where this supposedly happened. But
right.
if you think of the process, they just the explanation is the First Nations used every part of the animal. That's part of their spiritual belief. They used every part of the animal, so there's basically nothing left. But even a pig, if a pig eats an animal, the pig won't eat the teeth. So wouldn't there be buffalo teeth all over the place? Because what do you do with a tooth? How do you destroy a tooth?
Not very good.
I don't know.
If I may respond.
Yeah.
Let me respond.
Sure.
So I mentioned with the previous caller that I believe the world is ruled by Western European aristocrats, and that I didn't mention that this what shall we call class of people numbered already in the millions 200 years ago. Their colonial cities are all over the world. I live not far from the capital of Oaxaca. It's not a major state capital, but it has space for some 50,000 aristocrats in the old colonial city. So if this small place here, and Mexico City has a much bigger colonial downtown core, would have held 100,000 possibly. So this is a huge
Would that be
cabal. Pardon?
Would that be Cholula?
Again, the connection's not good enough. I didn't hear.
Cholula.
Would that be Cholula?
Cholula, no. I'm living
the mountains of Oaxaca.
Well, the capital city of Oaxaca is Oaxaca City. Oaxaca, Juarez.
Okay.
But these people raped the earth long before we started talking about us raping the earth. They took all the large game off the earth. I believe there were lots of buffalo on the plains, and they hunted them. Not with bows and arrows. No, they probably had guns already. They probably had airships with large nets. They probably used stun grenades. And they used all their parts. They used the bones, I think, as a secret ingredient for building. Someone analyzed that for me, and the composition of bones would be very good addition to cement.
Interesting.
We don't have the recipes. But with regard to humans being moved around, this is another part of my research that they were farming humans, and as I've let go of the war narrative of history, I've had to adopt, and perhaps an even uglier history, a history of human farming, cannibalism, and the adrenochrome cult that is still alive.
Yikes. Gary.
Yeah, the Ambrosia Corporation that Vance, I believe, is invested in. Ambrosia.
I remember it. Yeah, I'm not sure they're still operating, but regardless, these people have other ways to get their ambrosia.
Yes.
For all I know, they have a secret island in the Pacific that's not even on our maps, right? It's underground military bases. What are they for? What are they doing there? Are they hoarding food right now as food prices go nuts, and there are many danger signs around our food supply system?
And the water from the data centers going somewhere to the bunkers?
Right. They're making life for us next to impossible. The U.S. is in the crosshairs, it looks like, but what country isn't really? I've been listening to news in China. It's horrible there too.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier about Ireland. Do you know about the meeting that they're going to be having? Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, all the heavies of the techno bros, movie stars, about the planning of World War III in Dublin, Ireland, August 12th. Yeah.
August 12th.
I think it's called Dialogue, I believe is the name of the group. And it's going to be in Dublin, Ireland in August. You could probably source that out. Interesting. They tell us what they're going to do, right, before they try to do it. They have to do it. They have to tell us. The devil must tell you what he's going to do before he... Yes.
I feel it. Yeah, well, I think it's just to keep us on the war narrative page while the real war is not that.
No, there might be no war is the next war.
It's
social
credit, the war,
digital control.
If I can think here, speaking of the war narrative, I'm not sure if this is, real news or not. Might be fake news, but I saw in forget the name on the Instagram thing, like the last 24 hours in geopolitics on Instagram. I forgot the author, but they were saying yesterday that a lot of the naval forces of the U.S. have just been moved out of the Strait of Hormuz, and they're right now on their way to the East China Sea because of the situation in the East China Sea, and they just pulled out of NATO with very little media attention. They just wrote a few documents and just basically pulled the plug on Europe and NATO because they're going to focus on the Pacific theater.
Yeah, Taiwan,
I wonder if
maybe
they might
China.
have a detour to Cuba to continue the Monroe Doctrine eminent domain plan.
Yeah.
Right.
And Cuba supposedly just voted to go to a free market, which really surprised me. I don't know if that's true or not. Is that true?
Right. I read that too.
Yeah, you saw that?
Yeah.
For free enterprise.
Yeah, so that
Interesting.
could be a big game changer because Cuba sparked the whole Cuban Missile Crisis, which, North Korea has learned so much from that history.
Yeah, we're slipping back into the war narrative. I don't believe nuclear weapons even exist. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an author,
now there are
Miles
people.
Mathis.
Yeah, Mild man, great man. Now they're saying many nuclear power plants are inside of data centers.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's fear mongering, and it works for a lot of people.
Well, this is the problem with the Instagram. I'm guilty of it too, right?
Right. Yeah.
But it's insta propaganda.
Instant, yeah. It's a gram. That would use that word in the street drug business.
Right.
How many grams?
Funny.
You got a gram.
Yeah.
And if you're on Twitter, you're a twit. These are all the word games they play.
Beautiful.
Funny.
Yeah. BitChute is another one. I could go on with all these names. I don't know who's making them. Jesuits? I don't know. But, this is also their entertainment. Some people will argue that the world is run by money and it's all about money. No, the people in charge are so psychopathic that what they're doing is entertainment for them. And they don't care what happens to us.
Yeah,
Absolutely
makes sense. Makes sense to me in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And of course, they can print money at will, and they can manipulate economies at will. So I don't think money really explains a lot.
Right. It's more about
Certainly
power.
Yeah. And well, now I'm changing that word into entertainment. For them, it's kind of entertainment.
One of my favorite sayings that my dad told me was, absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah, and a little bit corrupts a little bit.
I'm not sure.
I don't think your father was the first.
Pardon me? What's that?
I don't think it was your father who made it up.
No, he didn't make it up. He was quoting. He was a reader.
Yeah. But anyway, that's true. A little bit of power corrupts a little bit too. I've seen that. how many people felt empowered during COVID to tell everyone that they must wear a mask and be vaccinated in order to protect grandmothers and grandparents and the world.
Well, I think I want to let you finish out your show, so I'm going to drop off. Thank you for letting me call in, and I love your information, and I will check out your YouTube.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Hope to hear from you again.
Thank you. Good night.
Take care.
I'll be listening.
All right, Adam. Yeah, that was interesting about the Buffalo Bill history.
Yeah, I
still
saw
there?
a really good. Yes, I saw a very good documentary about that. I'm trying to remember where I saw it, but it was very informative and it looked really interesting. But at the same time, it does seem a little bit weird.
Yes, it's a little weird.
Like, who would do that? Whose idea was that? Who would pay for something like that? Didn't they have better things to do than try to recreate a whole town, another country? Like, crazy idea.
Yeah. Yeah, well, these people in charge have way too much time, way too much money, way too many resources. So what's more evidence of that? Just something else came to mind. But
it also makes me think about the process of doing that, too. Like, how do you convince people that you're going to move them to a different country and just make them into a spectacle? Like, who would agree to that?
Right. Yeah, makes me wonder if it actually happened. Makes me wonder if it actually happened. What year was it? 18 something?
Oh, at the time of the Buffalo Bill show, I think it was like 1860s, but I'm not sure.
That long ago? That long ago, maybe.
Yeah.
And another thing I've questioned in connection with that name, Buffalo Bill, and native chiefs naming themselves after animals. That seems also weird, if I may use your word, dubious. Would you really gain the respect of your tribe by naming yourself after your prey? You're eating buffalo, and you just named yourself Buffalo?
Yeah, it doesn't really
ring true.
Right. No.
And would you garner more respect by wearing feathers and buffalo horns on your head? It's very dubious. I know they want to talk about the animal spirits. Yeah, okay, but you're eating those animals too, and animal spirits are very different from human spirits. They're not really giving advice to anyone, any chief. We have to depend on our brains. So good luck trying to get wisdom from the eagles flying overhead.
Mm-hmm.
It's just very strange.
In another weird thought, it makes me think of like the artifacts as well, because when you look at, say, the Museum of Anthropology, you see some jewelry and basket weavings and blanket weavings.
Yeah.
But where are the bones? Where are the graves? Where are the towns they lived? Are they just so badly decomposed that we'll never find them? How does that work, right? If they did move whole villages, then how do we know they ever moved them back, right?
Yeah, and your point about teeth is good. And we should be finding them in I guess, mass graves, village graves, little graves.
Why aren't we? Why aren't we?
Mm-hmm. because they weren't there. That's the simplest explanation. They weren't.
I wonder if you could get an anthropologist on the show and hear it from an anthropologist about the actual facts they have in terms of the bones and things like that.
They might be challenged and put off by what the questions are asking.
Well, I mean, you could maybe look for an academic article about
the best I can do, the best I know of. The best I know of is there is an anthropologist here in Mexico. I don't know his name. He was mentioned to me by some educated people here, and he argues convincingly that all the tribes with their different textile patterns, basket patterns, weaving patterns, they got all of their patterns and technology from the Spaniards.
Interesting.
So again, we're looking at cultures that were created by Europeans, so-called native cultures. The totem poles on the West Coast were not carved without iron tools, which didn't exist until the Europeans brought them.
Yeah, and I mean,
so it goes on.
That when you think of the big picture of colonialism in the Pacific, it was all about the Spanish more than the British. You know, with the Philippines.
Pacific, certainly in the southern half of North America. Yeah.
Well, even all the way, the Spaniards went all the way up to Vancouver. So.
No kidding.
Right? So when you think about it as a kind of historical conspiracy theory, it makes me think, well, if they were moving whole towns of Filipino people to North America after the Spanish had colonized the Philippines in, the 17th century,
right?
There wouldn't be there wouldn't be a lot of archaeological evidence of that, and it seems quite plausible that they could have brought that culture here and set it up. Who knows? All right.
We got to wrap it up, Adam. Maybe we'll see you next week.
Next time. Thanks, Peter.
Take care.
All right. Okay, bye.
Thanks, Mike. That's it for this week. I might be back next week. That's me signing off from the final hour with Travis.
Tahibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau d'Arco Super Tea comes from the only tree in the world that fungus does not grow on. As a result, it naturally has antifungal, anti-infection, antiviral, antibacterial, anti-inflammation, and anti-parasite properties. So the tea is great for healthy people because it helps build the immune system, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. The tea is also organic and naturally caffeine-free. A 1-pound package of tea is $49.95, which includes shipping. To order, please visit drinksupertea.com. The first word is drink, spelled D-R-I-N-K, then the word super, then the word tea. The complete website is drinksupertea.com. Or call us at 818-965-9113, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. California time. That's 818-965-9113, drinksupertea.com.